Welcome to Afterthoughts. This is a podcast. It goes into your ears. We watch something, we looked at a screen, we have thoughts. These are thoughts that come after. I'm your host for the evening, Ryan King. This is a label I've agreed on. Joining us as always, occupying space, John Garcia.
Hey Ryan, I had a tail as a child, and I also just bought a condo, and I might buy a second house next week. All that psychic shit really paid off. Also, Mike Wallace wants my body. Happy to be here.
Another person, another perspective, Michael Dixon.
Hey guys, I'm very excited to have this celebration of specialness this evening.
Yes, we are talking about, and possibly wandering off from talking about, True Stories, 1986, by David Byrne from the Talking Heads.
Hi, my name's David Byrne, and I made a movie about a bunch of people in Virgil, Texas.
David, relax. Relax. You want me to look up into the camera?
They're getting ready for the 150th anniversary of their state. They're calling it a celebration of specialness.
Something's happening here, all right. The world is changing.
It's created confusion and chaos.
Do you run out of Kleenex, paper towels, and toilet paper at the same time?
What time is it?
No time to look back.
I want someone to share my life. Marriage is a natural thing, and I'm a natural man. I love the women. Hey, there's more to life than this job.
Hello, I'm Louis Fyne, and I'm looking for matrimony with a capital M.
Yep, it's fancy driving, all right. Not only driving, but parking.
Bunch of maniacs out there. You know how hot dogs come 10 to a pack and buns in packs of 8 or 12? You gotta buy 9 packs to make them all match up. That's what I'm talking about.
David Byrne talks like the Talking Heads sing, like David Byrne sings. That was the thing I noticed the most in watching this. I like couldn't look away from listening to how he talks. And I even looked up interviews. I'm like, oh yeah, 100%. He just sounds like that all the time. The plot of this movie, question mark. This is more like a series of vignettes. David Byrne says he based this on like National Enquirer, The Sun, like headlines, but not like the big headlines like Bat Boy, the smaller headlines that are just sort of like, maybe that kind of happened bullshit.
Not the like Men in Black stuff that they're using to go
Right.
capture illegal extraplanetary aliens.
Right, yeah. The lady stays in bed all day, exclamation mark. Like that's that's the level that we're talking about. Man can, I guess, like, as a guy who can hear things in his head, hear people's auras in his head. Yeah, again, like low level random bullshit characters. Yeah, like I enjoyed this. I like probably will watch it again, but it's definitely a particular taste. I did not subject Darla to it, and after watching it, I'm glad I did not subject Darla to it, because this would have been an absolutely infuriating watch for her. Because this really is just like stuff happens and David Byrne is there. It doesn't really necessarily comment on it. It just sort of happens around him to people. We are in a made-up Texas town, but it's filmed like around the Dallas-Fort Worth area and just does like. I read someone else that was like, oh, this is like a nostalgia for something I've never experienced. And I was like, no, this is straight nostalgia into my veins.
Yeah, feels very much like rural Dallas, like the outskirts of the suburbs. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely nailed it. They're the sesquicentennial.
Yeah,
Sesquicentennial of Texas is coming up. We do start the movie with just straight the history of Texas since Pangea. But they're having their celebration of specialness. And so the movie is just kind of like following these characters. We follow one character a little bit more to this eventual celebration of specialness. But before we go through all the like whatever particulars we want to talk about, John, what was your take?
Wait, this was your first time watching this, Ryan?
This was my first time watching this. I'd heard about it and I'd seen some reviews. I saw Red Letter Media talk about it, and I don't think any of it prepared me for any of it. Yeah, that even us talking about it today will prepare you for any of it.
Yeah, I had the same kind of ramp up to this, and this was my first time seeing it. Dixon and I watched it together because we were like, you know what, so I can make an evening of it and see what it's all about. And I fucking loved it. I pretty much knew like 5 minutes in that I was probably going to love the rest of the movie, but I was also going to be confused as to where it was going to go and what the fuck it was going to be about. And at some point I just stopped caring. I think it was right about the time that everybody started lip syncing in a club. And John Goodman roared in somebody's face and then said, "I'm a dancing bear." It's like, all right, this is all I need from this movie. I'm fucking in. Let's do it. Sure. I had just seen, I think last year, if it's either last year or like just a little bit before that I just saw Stop Making Sense for the first time. And I've never been like a huge Talking Heads fan. I didn't listen to the Talking Heads up until I saw that. Then after that, I started listening to them a lot and seeing David Byrne appear in like other programs and things. I was like, I'm curious what else David Byrne can do. And so seeing what he does here, it feels like it's like proto Wes Anderson meets like Joe Parrott Talks with You. And I fucking love that vibe. I love the coziness of it, but it also felt like part of this movie was just completely underscored by like some darkness of humanity underneath it that you just don't really see ever surface. Kind of felt like when I watched Ed Wood with Johnny Depp, there's just like an overwhelming positivity bubbling through that movie and like a unwillingness to admit that there's terrible things going on behind it. This had that same kind of vibe for me. I was like, okay, this is like all folksy and kind of cozy, but the woman who stays in bed all day and like all these other stories, they have sort of like a sadness to them that they just don't really explore and don't care about because the characters are just chipper and like where they're at in their life. I watched a bit of it again today and I laughed harder than I watched it the first time. So I'm eager to finish it because I only got halfway through. I got to the gospel sequence and I was like, fuck yes, this is great. And then I was like, I got to get ready for the actual podcast. So I'm looking forward to going back to it, but I really loved it. I love the music of it. Dixon and I learned that the free YouTube version sucks ass because the visuals are kind of shitty and the audio is also terribly mixed. So if anybody out there decides that they want to watch it before or after this conversation, just don't do the YouTube one. Do rent it. Like it's worth the rental for me. But I would say I really enjoyed it.
It's a Criterion Collection as well. You could get that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I would agree with that. Ryan, that was my only exposure to this previously was I knew it was in the Criterion Collection and I knew it was David Byrne, but I didn't really know anything else about it. I'd seen it, sitting on shelves at Barnes & Noble, but I didn't really know what to expect from it. This movie reminded me of a lot of things. I read that David Byrne was inspired by Nashville when he created it, and I can kind of see that given its sense of place and the disparate, characters and kind of not having a through plot line and focusing on lots of different people. If you haven't seen Robert Altman's Nashville, it's very good. It also reminded me a lot of 22 short films about Springfield, the Simpsons episode. Again, because of all these little vignettes that are all set in this place, but don't have that much in common. Aside from that, John, definitely agree about the Wes Anderson vibe to it. I imagine that he was probably very heavily influenced by this movie. The kind of perfect staging of every scene, and it's in Texas where he's from. I imagine that he took a lot from this movie. It also has a kind of David Lynch feeling to it in this love for Americana and common middle American people that are just, genuine, nice people. But it has this just off-kilter weirdness to it that makes you like, I'm not sure what's wrong here, but I kind of have to keep looking at it. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't go near as dark as Lynch does with a lot of his films, but gave a lot of David Lynch vibes. Also, a lot of Christopher Guest in this. This was, after Spinal Tap, but before a lot of his other films, Best in Show and Waiting for Guffman and a lot of those. So I'm not sure exactly if he was taking some inspiration from Guest and Rob Reiner or if Guest then took inspiration from this in his later work. So there's a lot of interesting things here with, it's a mockumentary, but there's so much going on and so many different styles coming together. I'm not really sure what Byrne was necessarily trying to accomplish with this, aside from the style and the vibes and the lack of narrative plot. That seems to be kind of just what he was wanting to do and to capture. And I think it works really well. And it's very funny. And I think going into it, John, it's interesting to hear that you laughed a lot more at it on the second viewing. I think knowing that it's a comedy allows you to appreciate those things more rather than kind of going into it blind, oh, well, this is a well thought of movie by David Byrne. It's in the Criterion Collection, and thinking about it in more of a kind of high piece of art when you go into it, rather than, hey, this is okay to laugh at and have a good time with. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. Interested to kind of get more into it, but yeah.
Yeah, I think the lines that the narrator says, on an initial watch, you can kind of be like, what? But then, if you're in it and in the sense of the movie, they do become funny in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking he's driving along and he's like, oh, there's a difference between US and European cities. And then he's like, I forgot what it is. I think I have it written down at home. And you're kind of you just hear that happen, and it's just a disjointed set of thoughts that somebody might say to you, right? That they just kind of had a thought and then they forgot it. But then it really is funny,
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
but also poignant, but not it's just this weird balance of all these things. It's just this perfect, odd thing to look at.
Yeah. There's such an observational piece to it of David Byrne's character, who I think resonates the most with the audience because he's just going through the town and seeing all these people and catching up with them for different stretches of time. And that's kind of a very similar journey that you as an audience member have, because you can be exposed beyond wherever he is to something else, but usually he leads you there first. And maybe you go drift off and you're suddenly with, a love guru who's doing some shamanistic stuff, or you're at a fashion show, which is just wild in the middle of a mall.
Yeah.
But there are moments where he'll reflect on things, and it has sort of a profoundness, but also it's just well, yeah, obviously. I think he makes some remark about the big factory / building that giant company has, Varicorp or whatever they're called.
Mm-hmm.
And he's it's a very dynamic shape. It's a box. And I don't remember what the full quote is.
Many of Virgil's festivities are sponsored by Varicorp. It's a major public relations effort. They're calling it a celebration of special mess. But this place is completely normal. Anyway, this is the Varicorp building just outside Virgil. It's cool. It's a multi-purpose shape, a box. We have no idea what's inside there.
But he just says something like that. It's it's a box. It's got multiple purposes of it. It was yes. Okay. But I think it's also, it's charming and disarming in the way that he delivers those lines, that he starts as a stranger who's just driving a car wearing a stylish hat, red convertible. And by the end of the movie, you're kind of it does sort of become a hangout movie, kind of, where you're I'm just hanging out with this guy. He's just showing me around town. It's like a friend who has to run to town for some business, and you go along with him, and they drop you off at different locations and tell you they're going to come pick you up every so often. They're I'll just be back. Don't worry about it. And you're okay, I guess, see this. So it captures that vibe.
Yeah, its lack of narration, or its lack of a plot, makes it feel like a hangout film, but you actually don't get to spend enough time with any of the characters for it really to fall into that, except David Byrne. But you don't know his name, you don't know his background, you don't get to know him at all. It's just really his random high shower thoughts throughout the movie, and him kind of just watching all the locals and being confused by them. So it's a very unique structure in what it's doing. I don't know that I've seen anything that is quite like this.
Yeah, you somewhat nail it, John. It's like the conversations you have with like a random person at a bus stop,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Where you
yeah.
like meet someone and you hear some stuff about them, and then later you go back and you're like, dude, this fucking guy I met at the bus stop, like, wow, I don't even know what his deal was,
Yeah.
right?
That's
It's just a sequence of those events over and over.
Yeah, but it does. Even though it doesn't have like a concrete narrative, there's like a build up to the Sasquatch Tennial or whatever the fuck it is.
Sesquicentennial.
Yeah, Sesquicentennial.
For the listeners out there, a sesquicentennial is the 150th anniversary celebration of the state of Texas in this case.
I still want to know what a Sasquatch Centennial is. But yeah, that is kind of like the North Star that the movie is making its way towards. They just talk about, David Byrne talks about going out to the town, and he gives you a little history about it and talks about the celebration of specialness and what it's going to build up to. And so that sort of starts like this very lazy flow toward the actual like night of performances. And I think that they do a good job. On a second watch, I'm like, oh, they're actually setting up a lot of stuff. Like when they do when they're at the club and they're doing the lip sync, which the first time, Dixon, you and I were confused because one, the audio was terrible. We were watching part of the YouTube version of it, and we didn't hear anything that DJ says at the very beginning. He's like, like into the microphone. And Dixon and I were just sitting there like, all right. And he says like, we're going to have a great lip sync contest. Everybody's going to try to lip sync to a song. And that's why they start going up and doing that.
Oh, is that what he said?
Yeah. And so like, then it starts the Talking Head song, and you get like all of the characters are in the same room. Everybody that you're going to see in the town is kind of there.
Not everybody.
Not everybody. True. Not the woman in the bed. She's not there.
No.
It's one of the
like,
few things she's not watching.
Yeah. But like quite a lot of the people that you're going to meet and see are like there, and they're showing up and they're really gearing up. You can tell that the energy is getting generated for what's going to happen at the actual like talent show that they're going to do for the Sesquicentennial. And I was like, watching it, I'm like, oh yeah, they're all here. I think that I was just so confused initially that I was like, all right, I guess that just happened. And John Goodman is such a pronounced character that I was like, well, I guess this was like John Goodman's thing. Like, sure, he's there, and everybody else kind of shows up. There's a dude who looks like Prince, whatever. But yeah, it does such a good job setting that up and then letting each subsequent story unfold from there. And you're like, oh, I remember that character. I saw them here, and I get a little time with them there. And you're suddenly seeing all these characters peppered throughout your adventure. And yeah, Ryan, you're making your way to different bus stops and you're seeing each of them and hearing their conversations.
Yeah, even like at the open, we go to Varicorp, and they like most of the characters work there too. You just don't know who they are yet, right? Like the almost everyone in the credits is just described by their name. So this is one of those where we're not like forgetting everything. Like legitimately, the characters are only named.
Like cute woman,
lazy woman,
lying
cute woman. Yeah, very few people have names. But like cute woman works at the factory, and like I didn't necessarily realize it because you see her later, and she has like these crazy matching get-ups. She wears the clothes that match the couch that she's sitting in, and all the pillows or whatever. And there was a point that Logan was walking by and watching part of it, and I was like, does she always wear that? Today it happened to coincide. There's so many questions.
She has different pillowcases that match all of her different
Out.
dresses.
I can see that. Yeah,
that's possible. That's completely possible. But yeah, it sets that up. We meet Louis Fyne, John Goodman's character, for the first time at Varicorp. He works in the clean room, and that another one of those like interesting. That's like color. Where it's like all red and he's in the white, and like there's a lot of these like really careful selections that Byrne makes. I think almost out of just like, this looks interesting. It's not even that he necessarily has things to say. It's just more the whole movie is just like observations, but without necessarily any statement on them.
Yeah.
I guess like there are maybe a few things that kind of like come through, but they're more like about generally observing things or generally like this acceptance or whatever, or there's some sense of the like small town feeling, but also this encroaching end to that small town feeling.
I think the main thing that comes through from Byrne as a director of the film is just an appreciation for just like simple middle America folk, just like their lives and their simple concerns seem to be very interesting to him. And, getting outside of, cinema at the time being very like, big and commercial, and him kind of doing the opposite of that. I mean, like, let's just focus on some normal people with normal problems. And like, yeah, they're weird and eccentric, but like everybody is, like that seems to me to be kind of what he's trying to do.
Yeah. I think that the quirky tone of all of it is part of what lures you into this, get to know these people, get to really sit with them, because maybe if this was done, or something similar to this was done in a much more like dramatic fashion, much more straight, I guess, played, it would be, you have to focus on one particular character. Otherwise you have a hard time attaching yourself to it. It feels messier, I guess, if you were going to try to ground it in something less surreal. But I also really applaud like the cleverness of his filmmaking in it. Like when I think about John Goodman bathed in red in the clean room, that's when he's talking about how he wants to find love. Like there's like that red kind of like he has a passion in his life, and it's to find a woman that will love him. And you get all those kind of flashbacks to other women where he's like sitting at a table with like 12 children and a woman who's like, do you remember all their names? And he's like, are they all sitting alphabetical? Like just like good bits there to bring you in and then take you back out to like his conversation. Or yeah, the conveyor belt with the machinery on it, all of the computer chips and stuff is like, the movie is actively taking you through the conveyor belt of its characters, letting you know who they are roughly by their conversations, the way they're interacting with each other. And then even later when we have like our dress show where all those people come out in their different outfits, that are all like, these outfits they're not things that you wear outside ever in your life. It's like Americana in a fashion design where it's like a family that's a lawn, like that's what they are. And it brings America to you. It brings like the Texans to you. Essentially. It's like, hey, here's all these different pieces of people in like raincoats and different people in these outfits. And it's
people
like
dressed like brick walls.
Yeah.
And
with
it's like weird chandelier antler things on their heads. And
singing a very like dreamy song in the background of it about being what you want to be kind of thing. And, but yeah, like all of that kind of propels you forward. And David Byrne just does such a good job of bringing these characters up to you, or you up to them in one way or another. You're seeing it through a date with Louis Fyne, or you're sitting in somebody's, living room watching TV with them. That kind of thing happens. Just hearing their conversations is such a cool moment to like let you sit there and be a fly on the wall for it. Very voyeuristic in how it's executed. But yeah, I think that's like, for me, the film language is all there. Like, I think he does want to make it interesting, but he does have some intention, obviously, behind that interest, and it's like driving you forward still. There's like great landscape shots too, like just beautiful.
Yeah.
That's where I feel like the nostalgia hits hardest. It's when you're just looking out at like the Texas plain and you're like, damn, this is beautiful. And then a couple walks in front and talks about how they love each other, and then one of them goes, did you just fart? And it's like, that just sums up the movie really well.
Yeah, like even beyond just the characters, almost every transition also has moments of just, either like countryside or like a janitor, like cleaning something, or some kids playing, or there's also all these moments of just like small individual moments or looks at other things that aren't even, they aren't weird. They just are, that like pass by as you go through each thing.
Yeah. I think that editing style really gives it this romanticism, that like just these subtle 30-second or less clips showing you people you're never going to see again. Some kids walking a goat through a field, just like some random stuff that kind of comes and goes, and it just gives you such a feeling of place and just an attraction to this fake town of Virgil, Texas, that it makes it feel like somewhere that you could like have a life and be happy and be part of this community.
Yeah. fuck those 4-H kids though, because they come along, they're like singing or what, like nonsensey kind of stuff or whatever, and then they're like, "Hey, this is the secret to long life if you listen to me," and then they fade off in the background, you can't hear them, and they walk off, and I'm like, "Tell me, what was it?"
Yeah, that's also great. I love that it doesn't linger too long on certain songs. It's just like, yeah, fuck it. We just wanted to get that kind of vibe out there, and we're gonna move on. It doesn't become overly indulgent in some of its bits. It really wants to stay where it wants to stay. It's David Byrne doesn't feel committed to seeing through all of the verses of something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like the you get really cheap music when you make it yourself. And like, but this doesn't feel like a movie that was made to showcase Talking Heads songs. Not all the songs are like only a couple are actually like sung by Byrne. A lot of them are other characters, like he gives the songs or whatever. Weirdly, the two are that they lip sync to Wild Wild Life, and then I'm forgetting what the title is, but whatever the one is about commercials, the lazy lady is like watching.
Yeah.
Then those two like have like music video kind of in the background, and they have a little bit of that like music video feeling, but they also don't feel out of place either. And like all the music kind of like fits in this weird feeling and weird tone, and I thought it was interesting that it didn't end up feeling like a musical or feeling like these songs were forced or like that they were the reason that they were there.
Yeah, this wasn't like having an album. This wasn't like Purple Rain kind of shit where they're trying to find a reason to play Prince's great songs, right? This is like,
right.
Hey, let's do this church song and get, the whole congregation to sing about it and really go for it. Like, don't lip sync. They kind of get that out of the way at the beginning when they're like, we're going to have a lip sync segment, and they just get it out of the way. Like, get David Byrne singing, and now everybody else gets their own chance. John Goodman sings, and all these other people get their own chance. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah, that it's also like, that was the other thing, that lip sync thing, where I'm like, how does everybody like fairly take their turn? But in general, like you do get this real sense of like warmness from the fact that everyone does seem content, and that there doesn't seem to be any real like discord or anything that's going on in the way that's like, so Louis, we see him throughout it. These kind of cut to these vignettes of him meeting with different women. He's never in a position where like he can't get a date. He's just not finding what he wants.
Yeah.
He never really judges these, women that he meets. It's more of just like, okay, that's not what I'm looking for. And so you just this like respect that's kind of given like throughout of it, and everyone's like content with who they are and okay that other people are whatever they are. And like even the lady that constantly tells lies or tall tales or whatever you want to say, like everyone around her is just like, okay, like no one challenges her on it, and it never has any like negative, it never actually does any harm or anything. It's just like, all right.
They all know she's full of shit, but they don't have to say it because everyone knows, and like they don't have to rub it in her face that they all know that. Yeah.
There's no reason to tear her down. She's living her best life, lying to everybody about everything.
You're telling me that Burt Reynolds wasn't really ready to give up all of his wealth to be with her? I want to talk a little bit more about the the atmosphere in the town with Varicorp specifically. And I think that's a really interesting observation in Texas and kind of where it was at that point in time in the mid 80s and where it still is, where it's this weird combination of like rural conservative life with an injection of technology into it that has become a bigger and bigger part of society as the state has grown and the population has increased since 1986 when this came out. And I don't know that many people were really talking about Texas that way at the time. Like, it feels like a very early observation of that. And where Virgil is basically a company town. And Ryan, you mentioned like everybody kind of works at Varicorp, but we don't necessarily know that early in the movie, but I also don't know that the characters even know that, because they're all like, they have to wear these like sterile outfits and they're like, stuck in their section of the company. And like Louis goes on a date with the cute lady, and I don't think they even realize that they work at the same place. You know, they don't seem to have ever seen each other or know that they exist. And I think it's just a really interesting portrayal of where the state has gone, and it's just become more and more like that over the years, where it's being dominated by big business and a lot of technology companies, you know, starting with Texas Instruments and, you know, decades ago, and then building into what it is now with Tesla and SpaceX and Facebook and all these other companies that are here. I don't know. I just think that was a really interesting observation and kind of a turning point in the state from rural, slow life to the fast-paced corporate behemoth that it is today. But I don't, as you guys who have also lived much of or all of your lives in Texas, what did you guys think about that?
Yeah, I think that you kind of get the two pieces of it. Feels like, you know, other than the couple of, you know, the big cities, every other place kind of has like its thing, and everything is revolved around that.
Yeah.
Right. And increasingly it became, either these companies that would come and plop down something, and then that would become everybody eventually goes and works at whatever that is. And then, you have, it is interesting that like 1986, this really does feel like it's on the cusp of a turn that it's funny that Byrne could see, because while he mentions Texas Instruments, which is what, like, computer parts then, calculators, now bombs, it's insane how much they've worked on.
Everybody makes bombs at the end of the day.
Sun came in, right, and was huge. Dell is huge. Like, now you have every other like major player, and like it's a tech corridor through the hill country.
Compaq was here for a long time before they were bought by HP,
right, like, but all on top of that, the energy companies like dominate so much as well. So it really is this like tech first state. Like, it became that, but on the edge, like once you get outside of it, it's back to back to nature really quickly. And I feel like this also gives a little bit of that representation of like there's a point where he's showing like all the like manufactured houses, and then like they cut to the last house and there's like nothing. Like, after that house. And like that, I was like, that's exactly it. And but then he's like, all this will be gone too, right? This will all be houses soon too. And like that's another like absolutely still ongoing, right? Every inch of it feels like it's being covered, but also is completely open, you know, after you get through a certain part.
Yeah, and those new neighborhoods that, like, in Texas, everybody is very familiar with, where like as the cities expand, you know, there are new neighborhoods that get added on the edge of the suburbs that keep growing forever. But when you're in one of those newly built neighborhoods with cookie cutter houses where they're like 4 different floor plans that are all the same, and they've like planted a few trees, but they're not big enough yet to actually do anything. And so it just feels very fake, very Truman Show-esque, that you're in this manufactured environment where there's nothing real there. And it's actually a horrifying feeling to me personally to be in a place like that. It's just so like surreal and weird. And that's kind of like, Texas is always that in a certain way, like that feeling, at least if you are, you know, in the suburbs and like kind of on the edge of where the city is growing. That's how you feel. So it's a weird thing.
I mean, they made that movie Vivarium about that exact concept. Yeah. But that movie's not that great. It's, you know, it's something.
I think I've seen that. It was not good.
Yeah, it's not particularly good, but it is.
They also made the Truman Show.
Yeah, there you go. That's also, that's the thing. Truman Show is, you know, slightly different. Vivarium's a nightmare. For me, seeing this was kind of crazy because it does like Tree of Life's you, where it like takes you from like the origin of the fucking universe, like dinosaurs and shit.
Yeah.
And then speeds you right up to like the Texas land grab and talks about like all the murder and everything that had the people warring with each other, then plops you down in a cozy little small town that's already, after all of that colonization's happened, and then takes you right up to that edge of like, you're having dinner with the big like tycoon dude who's bringing people in, and they start doing that, like he starts doing that fucking crazy diagram where he's laying out Earl Culver, the like dude who saved everybody in this town, it's like a big name or whatever, is
owns Varicorp,
yeah,
or is an executive there or something.
Starts laying out all the plans about how like everybody who learned anything at Varicorp is going to spin off into their own small businesses. All the scientists are going to take this technology and like break that up, and it's going to become this like tech town, this tech boom, all these things. They need to keep it in the town, and like it'll just continue.
But the
to
problem
feed
is
on
that
itself.
these scientists aren't interested in money. They work because they like it.
That's exactly, yeah. He's like, they're going to do it because they love it. And he's driving like a little gravy train through like this street he's constructed out of asparagus and holding a lobster up and propping it up as like the center of town and shit. And at the same time, not having a direct conversation with his wife. And David Byrne's just kind of there, like fucking going along for that conversation. But you get that whole like rush of it. And then, at some point we cut to all those prefabricated houses, and David Byrne's talking about how like the houses are pretty, they look pretty beautiful. Like, don't they? It's kind of like
4-car garages.
Yeah, 4-car garages. It's like dragging along slowly as he says that.
Have you ever seen a 4-car garage? That threw me.
They were like double 2-car garages. And I was like, I was first like, are these duplexes that are like, just shared wall throughout and they each have a 2-car garage, or are these actual 4-car garages? I don't know.
I've been in a few neighborhoods to visit somebody and seen like a 4-car garage. And I'm like, why would you need this? What are you doing?
Yeah.
How often are you driving each of these cars? But like all of there's like trash floating along on the lawn too. And he's like, isn't it beautiful? And and then that's when him and Earl Culver step out and they're talking about the fields, and they pan over to that shot you're talking about, Ryan. And Earl Culver's like, what good is a field if not to just expand more houses onto? And I was like, that's a fucking depressing thing to say. So I feel like, that's what I meant earlier when I was like, there's like this undercurrent of dark things said that just kind of linger for you to be like, oh, I don't like that. But they said it very chipper. And I think like at one point, David Byrne talks about the highways being like lauded as, the monuments of the current time, the contemporary, like greatest structures or something. And it's like, some people might say that, not me. And then like he just moves on after like making that comment. And I'm like, yes, okay, sure. But yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it. It's wild to see, my home state and to see it expressed so well and summarized in this movie.
Yeah, by an outsider.
Characters. Yeah, exactly.
Who seemed to really understand it on such an intimate level.
Yeah. Just wild.
I do think like some of it is also the cast of characters that he apparently, some of them were frustrated that he didn't have any like internal motivations for them as actors to work off of. Like he's like, I didn't think about that. I just like he has kind of the caricature and let them go with it.
Yeah.
But it's all like, because it's all filmed on the location, because he's pulling actors and extras from the area, I think that also led to it and also allowed him to kind of find some of this as he went.
Mm-hmm.
Versus like, I don't think he came in with like a script of like, here's this town. I think he found the locations as he was filming, like found the people he wanted, like did it, like it just navigated it, and that also brought the area to life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was actually talking with Dixon about this earlier, and I put myself in the position of a moviegoer who craves a lot of logical structure. Maybe I just got out of seeing Rambo. I don't know.
The real one? The real Rambo?
The real Rambo.
The real Rambo.
And I go into this movie and I sit and I watch it and I wonder, I feel like the audience back then is probably a lot more accepting and willing because there wasn't as many devices and distractions and like attention economy bullshit as now. But you might get these questions of like, what is the meaning? What are you trying to say, David Byrne? What is going on with this? Are you making this for an experiential reason? Or are you trying to sum up thoughts here, like share these things around? And just something with the way that this is told, all of that kind of like underlying undercurrent of sort of like rose thorns that go through it, where you'll see things and hear things and go, I don't like that. Is it supposed to make that person think, or how are they supposed to interpret it? And Dixon and I kind of got into this conversation about like, where does this rank between like A Stranger Than Paradise, where it's a hangout film that has sort of no aim, no end. It's part of counterculture. and something that's more like, I went to like an extreme and was like Mandy, where there is like a direct narrative, but there's not something necessarily to say. It's like atmosphere and style and the way that you want to like make a movie. Like, what is this movie's vibe? What would I take away from it? And I just kind of, that's an open thought and an open question of like, what do y'all think that this sort of, that David Byrne, I know you read the Criterion booklet or the essay, but what do you personally, having seen this for the first time, what was your takeaway? What did you think like David Byrne was trying to do or accomplish, or how did you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the style and the vibe is the point for the most part. Like, that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to do a structure that's different and experiment with film in a way that he, hasn't seen before, or is building on what he's seen other people do. I also think the main through line, is kind of simple at the end of the day. It's like, all you need is love, is essentially. It's like, the Beatles, everything they did comes down to that, basically, right? And this movie is like basically Louis Fyne, his song at the end about, he's like, people like us, we don't want freedom, we don't want justice, we just want someone to love. And kind of boiling down to, at the end of the day, we're all just people and we're weird, and we can kind of get past that and appreciate what is good and bad about each other. And then like Fyne ends up proving that out by giving up his freedom and marrying the woman who never leaves her bed, right?
Yeah.
And like giving up his literal like mobility in order to just be with someone and have some companionship. And so I think that's, to the extent that there's any message, it appears to be just like, hey, we're all the same, we're all weird, and we can kind of get past that and get along. Seems to be, and kind of finding the beauty in the weirdness of other people and learning to appreciate that, rather than pushing it away as strange and other.
Yeah, I think, and then the other piece I think is just like reveling in all the small details of the moment. Right, because the final thing that he says is he talks about, the narrator saying, when I first come to a place, like I notice all the small details, like the doorknobs, the color of the clouds or whatever, right? And then he's like, and then I forget them like later when I leave or whatever, right? And so yeah, some of it is that like paying attention to those little details and kind of reveling in them, but also how like they can be fleeting, like those moments can kind of come and go.
Yeah, and you settle into taking things for granted. And I mean, I feel like that does have a through line with a lot of the characters, especially the woman in the bed, who she's gotten so comfy in her life being rich that she doesn't have to leave ever again. And she's
not bedridden, she's not ill, she just chooses to never leave her bed because she doesn't have to.
She's got an automatic page turner and an automatic plate thing that feeds her, and a robot that's suspiciously like the Rocky IV robot.
That's like that.
Maybe on loan from Polly, who knows? But yeah, like it takes her seeing. Well, one, she also observed the John Goodman's character Louis Fyne's TV infomercial, which is just great, just fantastic.
Yeah.
What's the phone number?
It's like 454 wife or something like that.
I don't remember what the first three numbers are. But
yeah, something like that. But yeah, she sees that, and then she sees his performance because they televised the sesquicentennial for her. And I don't know if it's for her directly, but I would assume she's rich enough that it would be for her in the small town. And she's like I love that man.
Type of thing.
Yeah, she's like, I definitely want that man. But that's like her, she sort of has that same realization that she's kind of lived in bed, seen all these things, been like very cozied up, and then sees a guy that she never noticed before. And it's like this new fascinating kind of romance and passion.
And it gets her out of bed.
Yeah, it gets her out of bed. She gets out of bed to go and meet him. But yeah, that's kind of a perfect sum up. Yeah, I agree. That's what I think that the point of the film, not that there has to be a point, but it is this like vibe that has just been, it is like pure expressionism from David Byrne. He really wants everybody to be immersed in the experience, not so much to think that like there is an end goal or an underlying meaning beyond all of it, that you're like, okay, it's got to be this many layers of complication for all these characters and stuff. And the fact that he didn't give any real direction to the actors that he got also makes perfect sense, that like This is kind of like really close to pure art where you're just seeing somebody find it like in each scene and in each moment. They have like a vision. They know what they kind of want to build, but then all the other artists come in and help them really scaffold up and, you know, add the brush strokes to it so that you get this really unique painting at the end of it that you can step back and be like, God, I can appreciate so many aspects of it, but I don't have to know all about it or be in it.
Yeah. The actor that plays Culver,
Spalding Gray.
He introduces the like talent show, and he does this kind of weird little spot, and the whole time he's doing these weird things where he's like the way he's like, and he said
Strange
that
hand
he just like,
movements.
he looked at a book that had pictures of like how as a public speaker like different types of movements or like stances you should use, and he just put them together randomly.
That's amazing.
He's like, that's what I'll do.
That's
and it comes
beautiful.
off right again.
Yeah.
It's in that sort of like, it's a weird thing. It's just like a little weird like moment, and you look at it and you're like, what?
That's that beautiful aspect of it is there's a lot of facsimile in this that like distills certain aspects of human nature and culture in the contemporary time. And like that fashion show, which we kind of grazed over, there's like an escalation in that fashion show beyond just like family, like people in raincoats. And then it's like little kids in like the Hawk Jones attire, and they're going to go to the set. And then like, there's like a family of people in like lawn furniture and grass and whatever. And then it's like the pillars and construction. And then suddenly it's like women with big hats, like bigger and more extravagant hats just keep happening. And there's some aspect of it of like, there's like this one-upsmanship to that thing, but also they do represent a lot of just average Americans. There's construction work. Yeah, you're going to need a raincoat. Sure. A lot of people, families care about their lawns. Like all this other shit just sort of like on the surface to me is like, okay, it's weird in what it's showing you. But then when you think a little bit more about it, you're like, why do we put so much emphasis on like the greenest lawn and like these aspects of our culture? And just knowing that Spalding Gray was up there like, yeah, and then I just read a book and did all these different like public speaking tips, like straight out. Like that's like how, if you read a book on like how to manage people, you end up being kind of a sociopath if you just follow it to the letter instead of trying to like mold yourself into it.
I know somebody who did that. John, you also know this person.
Yeah, that's right. I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, you're like, and now I'm supposed to ask you, how was your day? And then you're like, the fuck do you mean, how was my day? I just told you it was awful. Like, let me flip to chapter 2 on this.
The Criterion essay that I read described the fashion show as children dressed like adults and adults dressed like trees.
It is. There is like a whole line in the song about children dressing like adults or something. So
it's funny to me, like at the start of the fashion show, I turned to you and I was like, is this like just random shit that they found at a thrift store and it pulled together and tried to make it weird? Or did they design it explicitly for this? And then all of a sudden, like it just gets gradually weirder. And like all of a sudden people are coming out in the weirdest fucking outfits you've ever seen in your life. And you're like, I'm pretty sure they designed these for the movie. I'm like, oh, John, that's not fair. You answered that after they changed to this absurd.
Well, you didn't say the other part. I said, I'm pretty sure they designed all this, but God, I hope they found some of this at a fucking thrift store.
There's just the random absurd things in it. There's, the raincoat scene, there's like 4 people in raincoats, and one of them is wearing a raincoat that's shaped like a giant box off of his back. And you're like, wait, is this for like hiking through the backwoods or something that covers your backpack? Like it was way too big for even that. There's just no explanation for any of these things.
No one will ever know.
All right. Do we have anything else that we wanted to touch on?
One, we didn't talk about really. We talked about the church sequence, but we didn't really talk about the church sequence. Which
we
I
should
think,
talk about the church sequence. Yeah,
I think that I loved that, and the moment I saw it, I was like, I know Dixon's gonna love this. As a big Oliver Stone fan, so a lot going on in this church sequence.
Mm-hmm.
Where to even fucking begin with that? Because I just know.
Yeah. I guess we kind of cut to the church, right? And our pastor, initially, he's just like going through a slideshow he made of like conspiracy crap that he's like putting together. And then he goes into this puzzling evidence song that the congregation like joins him in as he,
it's all about coincidence, but not coincidence. And he's talking about like he's
how could
building
they
up
just
that
be coincidence?
case. Yeah, he's like talking about all the different. He's like, who's really running this country? We're still paying for John Kennedy's assassination, and that's when the woman who's lying gets up and is like, I knew what happened that day. They told me that I shouldn't tell anybody. 60 Minutes wanted to interview me. Mike Wallace wanted my body. And, and the guy's like, that's great. Yeah, thank you. That's great. I agree. And then it goes right into this, like all of the conspiracies. They have like the logo of GE that's tied in with like some other fucking, I don't even know what the other symbol is. Is it like a pagan house of some shit? I don't know. But just like that. And then they show like the military and they have like the fucking Lyndon B. Johnson in like the Oval Office and a planning room and some other shit. It was like, just immediately starts this whole thing about conspiracies and the whole congregation's getting really amped up on it. And everybody's like, oh my God. Yeah. There's like so many just puzzling coincidences everywhere about everything that's happening. And I feel like it really captures, like there's that, he talks about America losing the Vietnam War. And that's like the beginning of his like rant when he really gets into it. He's sitting right next to, what did the pulpit say? Do you fucking remember?
It said efficiency.
Yeah.
The pulpit said efficiency.
The pulpit just says efficiency. But there's something like summed up in all of that because it's like, it starts initially with a very heartfelt community congregation and everybody coming together and a simple history of how America's lost its way. We lost the Vietnam War and then John Kennedy was assassinated and all this, and then quickly spirals out into like, all these corporations are probably part of some like pagan ritual bullshit. They have like all these secret symbols. They flash like a pyramid and they say like there's a all-seeing eye company that has some ties to it. And they start this whole fervor and the whole congregation just starts going fucking ape shit for it. And it's wild to see that. And then it cuts to David Byrne, who's just listening to it on the radio and tunes out of it like immediately. So I just like that whole thing is its own kind of like bottled music video in and of itself. Just so fucking crazy to see it happen.
Saying a lot again about Texas and the religious culture there. Like as somebody who grew up in a very, weird culture, religious environment where like the pastor, a lot of Sundays would just preach politics, not, biblical stuff and, just tell people how they needed to vote, and a lot of tying Christianity directly to the Republican Party. And like, you have to vote this way if you are, believe in Jesus and you want Christianity to succeed and all these things. Like, that's not what this is though. It's, the pastor like putting forth some actual interesting information, like like the military industrial complex, like that's bad. There are people in the CIA or the military that are like running things to a bigger degree than they should, and then just kind of spiraling into like incoherence and like even just like not necessarily that everything he is proposing is bullshit, but they just are not connected. And like, wait, what are you even trying to say here at the end of this? Just gets so convoluted and confused. But yeah, it's just like, I don't know, it's just such a weird scene, but again, a very kind of smart encapsulation of what religious culture is sort of like if you kind of turn it up a little louder than it normally is.
The pulpit being labeled efficiency also just kind of sends home this message of like, can you distill, it's not even like distilling like the gospel or whatever religious text. It's just like, people just want to be told something efficiently that they can like gather around, rally around, potentially like have that fervor for it.
His sermon / gospel song is not efficient at
not
all.
At all. Very ineffective and rambling. That was the Second Amendment reformed. It didn't work. I thought the joke would work.
There's also a saying in like Christianity in Texas, at least in Dallas, that you have to beat the Baptists to lunch because the Baptists have like the quickest, most efficient sermons, and they get out to lunch faster than everybody else. And you try to finish your service faster than they do so that you can get a table at whatever lunch spot
you're in a fucking arms race with the Baptists.
Yeah. So efficiency really is a thing in some churches where like they're trying to get you in and out so you can, pay your tithe and get out of there and get to lunch.
The watchdog efficiency clergy has moved the lunch clock up to 5 minutes from noon. Ryan, did you have any other?
Yeah, I was gonna say it's supposedly Byrne based that on the Church of Subgenius, or I guess took like influence.
Oh,
It's not,
nice.
like, based on it.
Oh, there's a great documentary about the Church of the Subgenius from a few years ago that like Richard Linklater is in it, and it's really fucking funny.
I need to see this.
Yeah.
I know nothing about the Church of Subgenius.
It's pretty wild.
Oh yeah, it's pretty wild.
In for a time.
Yeah, yeah, you're in for a time. But it's similarly like they, I guess, mix together like all these like cultural things to sort of then to parody religion. And so it definitely, that's sort of what this feels like, right? It is definitely like a parody of this type of thing, but in a way like it's really close to what it is, like by pointing it out, to where it's like somewhat not, you can't necessarily divide the two of like, it's so zany, but it also is like, it is realistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, somewhat the power that the church, almost the power that all these like institutions that it kind of shows have, you know, within a town like this, whether it's the church or the big company or whatever, right?
Yeah. That's interesting. And I think like if you're listening to us talk about this movie and you're like, this sounds really weird and fractured and disjointed, I think the thing that grounds it and brings it all together is John Goodman's character, Louis Fyne. And that's kind of the only narrative through line that you get as the movie goes along. And I think he's so good in that role. And that character is so earnest and naive and so unapologetically himself, where like he's the most well-adjusted human being of all time. You know, he's like, he knows what he wants, and he's like, I know I'm a weird guy, and like not everybody's gonna like me, and that's okay if I'm not your thing. I'm just looking for somebody out there has got to be willing to love me and to be my wife, and he just is earnestly pursuing that throughout the film, and then he gets it, and it's a very kind of like happy ending, and there is a sort of weird narrative through line to it that works in a traditional Hollywood sense. You know, it's very distracted by a lot of different things, but it is there, and it's something that you can kind of anchor yourself to.
He maintains a very consistent panda bear shape. That was
That's a great line. Oh God, what does the fucking dad say about his son? The shit where he's like, he's got a great system for consciousness or some shit. He's like a system consciousness. It was like what he says about the fucking Earl Culver when they're at dinner. He's I think that my son might one day even be like a vice president of Varicorp. He's got a great consciousness for systems or some shit like that. And you're like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Meaning he's my direct blood relative, and I can make him a vice president of Varicorp whenever I want to.
Oh my God. I think beyond this, like beyond the movie itself, we touched briefly on like influences, what it may have influenced in the future. I want to go back to that and think like one, like, I know we talked about Wes Anderson, but what other films or like other artists do y'all think this movie might have influenced? Like, Dixon, you mentioned 22 short stories in Springfield. I'm sure that the writers of The Simpsons probably saw this and were like, maybe this could be something that could work for an episode where we just kind of goof around on it.
Possibly. Yeah.
Yeah. But like, were there any other?
I was going to say the part where the parents aren't talking to each other immediately made me think of The Simpsons, where like Homer and Lisa aren't talking.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's like, Marge, tell Lisa to get out. And it's like, Lisa's the one you're not talking to. Yeah. Lisa, tell Marge to get off my case.
Yeah, there does seem to be some Simpsons influence here. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I've talked a lot at the beginning about the things that I have noticed, and whether it's things that it influenced or influenced it. Some of these things are contemporaries, like Christopher Guest and David Lynch, like, you know, were making things before and afterwards. So I'm not sure necessarily if they were feeding off each other or if it was just, you know, coincidence or what may be there. But yeah,
I think we talked briefly too about like Slacker in some comparison.
Oh yeah,
to this.
yeah.
Slacker.
It does feel, because Slacker is very much about a location in the city of Austin and moving around from group of people to group of people, and there's literally no narrative through line. I don't think there's a single character that shows up in more than one scene. You know, maybe one or two that kind of connect you from one vignette to the next. But yeah, I can definitely see Linklater pulling from this for sure. And that was right before 86 was right before Linklater started making movies. He filmed Slacker in 89. It came out in 91, I believe. But yeah, and even like his later films that feel more scripted and composed, like Before Sunrise, you know, that's just two people walking around the city of Vienna, and it feels almost like as much about the city as it is about them, as they're experiencing it and learning more about the city and more about each other. So there's definitely a lot of influence there, I think.
There's some King of the Hill has some feel from this.
Oh.
Like
I can see
speaking of
that.
other creators from Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do feel like some Mike Judge kind of feel like possibly from this as well.
I mean, yeah, it sounds like the creative process would be very similar because Mike Judge's characters are all based on somebody he's had an interaction with or known.
Right.
And so he pulls very heavily from what he's experienced. If David Byrne is pulling from these tabloids and then just letting actors, you know, live up to the caricature, there's probably a similar kind of conjuring for that. It makes sense.
I could see Varicorp having a very slight influence on Initech in Office Space.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It's interesting that we're pulling from Texas filmmakers, but it does seem to be where the influence is. Like not exclusively like David Lynch or Christopher Guest, but there's definitely a lot of Anderson and Linklater and Judge that you're like, oh yeah, I can see that in this. And I would imagine that they would have all seen this movie because it would have been one of the few films at the time that was actually shot in Texas and felt very much of its place.
Yeah. With the exception of, I mean, yeah, of its place, yes. RoboCop 2 was shot in Texas. And,
obviously, there are others like Last Picture Show and other movies that, you know,
sure.
that were actually shot here. But yeah.
Oh, man. I can't believe that they used Dallas as Detroit, but okay. Good job, RoboCop. Sure. The only other thought I really have about this movie is not that I would want it to be this. We live in the era of fucking soft reboots and like, hey, we're coming back with some bullshit. If David Byrne made this again, I wonder what it would look like, or if he endeavored to get a younger group of artists to help him recreate another like true stories feeling in Texas, what that would include, how that would handle the same kind of development things, what it would tread in its exploration. Because I mean, there's still small towns in plenty of Texas, but now you have much more development in the Dallas area, in Austin and Houston, and like that reflection would be interesting to see.
Almost, I mean, honest, like this is David Byrne's only movie.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like it was a project he moved on to. It wasn't successful. I don't know if that played into him. Like maybe like this is something he wanted to do, and I don't know if he did care if it was successful or not. Like I don't think that's why he didn't continue making movies. I almost would just be like, I wish he would make something else. Like what is he thinking about now? Right? Yeah. Like it was like, tell me, David Byrne, what do you want to go explore? Like and see what that is. Yeah, I have to say. So some of this is around the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and then I know that I've been to that mall. I don't think that mall's got shit in it anymore, but that's
which
every mall. It's the North Park Mall.
Oh, Dallas. I know that mall very well. I did not know that. I didn't realize that's where it was shot. Yeah, no, that's still there.
Yeah, I'm sure it's still there. I just don't think it's as cool as it was in this movie.
No,
they had like bookstores and shit in it, right?
Yeah.
Like it probably does okay. Like some of the big towns can have a mall still. And then he also filmed like in Greenville, which is really close to where my dad's family is from. So it's a place I visited once or twice a year. Like that was summers or holidays, to go there. And I hadn't been in a long time, but went back to Sulphur Springs a few months ago and was like blown away at how absolutely different it is. Like how far like the world has touched to touch Sulphur Springs, right? There's like for so many years of my life, it was an untouched dairy town. And it was like that every year I came to it. It was the same while the rest of the world was changing.
Is that outside of Houston?
No, it's outside Dallas.
Okay.
It's between like Dallas and Texarkana.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah.
So yeah, it's Hopkins County, which is I think where Greenville is, and which is like the largest dairy producer in Texas. I don't know if they are anymore because,
Probably
times
not.
change.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I went out there and I went to stay at a hotel, and they were asking me like when I came in, they're like, "Oh, which solar farm do you work on?" And I was like, "What?" And I was like, "No, I'm just here." And they're like, "Yeah, what company are you with?" And I'm like, "No, I'm actually just here as a person. I'm not with the company." But just the expectation that there were so many people coming in to work on solar farms in that area, right? That I'm like, it's not a dairy town now. And then there was a Dutch Bros coffee across the street from a Starbucks. in what in my mind, which is always like the furthest away from civilization town, and I could not imagine someone from 1986 getting like up in the morning to go work on a dairy farm being like, let me get my Frappuccino. They would murder that person.
I'm imagining this scenario where there's a Dutch Bros across the street from a Starbucks and just the never-ending battle to determine who can pack more sugar into their coffee.
Oh, yeah. Well, I got news for you. That new Dunkin' that's popping up on the other corner where they...
Yeah, right.
Do you see that they released like some fucking bucket of... I don't know if it's true, but I swear there's like a bucket that Dunkin's like, now you can get your whole coffee in a bucket with a straw in it. I was like, why? What are we doing?
We're releasing a new donut-infused coffee. We've tapped into higher sugar content than they can. Oh, my God.
Number one driver of diabetes.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like I'm from Dallas as well.
They have a 48-ounce coffee bucket.
That's what I was telling you. I told you. It's a fucking bucket. Jesus.
Get your bucket of KFC and your bucket of coffee.
Some kind of fucking crime.
If your food doesn't come in a bucket, what are you even doing? Are you even in Texas?
Yeah, if your food didn't come in a bucket, fuck it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the slogan. Good job, Dixon.
Yeah, I mean, going back to Dallas too as an adult, it's like places that used to be very rural, they're completely urbanized or suburbanized, and the Metroplex, Dallas-Fort Worth area has gotten so big to where it stretches basically from Oklahoma to Waco. Like it's insane. Like it's become almost like one of the, if not the biggest TV market in the country. It's like very up there. Like, the local news stretches far and wide there. There's so many fucking people. And it's crazy that, it's just changing at such a rapid pace. I don't know if Ryan, do you know the town Prosper?
Yeah, actually, our friend. So my parents are in Frisco.
Oh, yeah.
And then, we have some friends that are in Prosper.
Yeah, Prosper
which is
used
all
to
just
be
one fucking thing now.
I know.
It's crazy.
When I was in college, Prosper was a desolate wasteland that I think Deion Sanders was the only citizen in the entire town. And you could see his home from Highway 289 off the house, and you knew it was his because it was the only house in the fucking city. And there was a football field behind it. And you could see the field goal posts. And since then, that's all been torn down and turned into 78,000 homes instead of one. But I mean, it's crazy the rate that the state has changed. It's like, I don't know that you could make this movie in and around Dallas anymore. I feel like you would have to go to, Waco or Tyler or, somewhere else to make something that has the same vibe that this movie does. But it would be interesting if he tried to make it in those, like, shoot in those same areas and try to do something similar based on the type of person that's there now. But that feels like it would be more of a just kind of satire on modern American
Yeah, that's
life.
what I was thinking.
There's
is
not
like
a lot of
it becomes
uniqueness
cynical.
to that culture anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. It really does end up being something where, like, I feel like if you had characters in it, they would have to pop even more as like quirky characters just because of how uniform a lot of things would be.
And you could have weird characters, but they wouldn't feel exclusive to Texas. They would just feel like weirdos that you would find in any fast-growing suburban area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd have to channel a lot of Joe Pera at this point to probably make it,
That's probably right.
Push the flowers through the concrete kind of situation.
Yeah. I will say, like, my visit to Sulphur Springs, it almost does feel more like bizarre or satirical because yeah, I'm like the people that I met and I talked to were the same as I remembered, and they were still like, we went to church and it was essentially the same as I kind of remembered. People were still talking about showing cattle and like getting the hay for their cattle and stuff like that, but it was all like there was so much more population and then all this modernization that was next to it. And so it's that weird juxtaposition of someone drinking a frappuccino with like a Starbucks label on it, in a town that you would have gone to the diner to get your coffee or whatever.
Right.
And then they're still talking about show steers, and it becomes funny to me, like, making me feel old, but I'm like, to someone that's there, that just like is.
normal.
And I even think, I don't think you could put an eye on it that would make it because either as a viewer you would be like, yeah, that's what it is, or you'd be like, wow, that's hilarious how like they're complaining about modernization but completely bought into it.
But they're bought into it because they have to be. There's no other option.
Yeah,
it's just taken over life in those areas. And like that's a really tragic story to go from there was the local diner where everyone got their coffee and went and sat down and like had some food and could talk to the people that work there or the other people in their community that are there at the same time, to the Dutch Brothers, which literally doesn't have an inside and you have to drive through it to pick up your coffee. And it's just the fracturing of community that our fucked up society has become. And yeah, that's really sad to hear, like a place that used to be so entrenched in its location and the area to be just like, it's just like everywhere else now, and it's just super fractured. And I imagine that there's not that sense of community there that there used to be.
Yeah, 100% though. Walking by the Starbucks was a rotund gentleman in overalls, no shirt.
Nice. Very nice.
Right. So I'm like, times didn't necessarily change.
6'3" dancing bear.
Yes. Yep. Totally.
Except he's bigger now than he was 50 years ago because of the
true.
fucking frappuccinos.
There you go.
Yeah. Problematically, even more so. Yeah.
Speaking of steers, we didn't even really talk about the fucking amazing talent show performance that is the two auctioneers accompanied by a yodeler who's lassoing them.
How did he come up with that?
That's a great idea. I have no idea how you would be like, you know what?
They're like having an auctioneer off to see who can talk faster and just slowly walking closer to each other.
The whole time that I watched that fucking speechless, I was like, this is art. This is the highest level of cinema. Just fucking beautiful.
It's just like a thought where you're like, what if there were two of them at once? Like, it just,
what if they were having a conversation with each other?
Dude, I would fucking watch. Okay, those two guys go sit in a diner and have a conversation. I'd watch that and try to keep up.
Yeah.
That would be fucking great. You know what, David Byrne? If you make another one somehow, that's got to be in there somewhere. It's these two old retired auctioneers.
I just want a whole feature-length film about two either best buddy or like frenemy auctioneers who have conversations, who only talk like that all the time, right? Super fast-paced.
About everything.
You can barely keep up with what's going on in the movie because they're rattling words off so fast. You only pick up every third one.
For some reason, I'm channeling like Danny McBride and like a Walton Goggins character. Doing that shit.
That'd be great.
Rivals.
Oh man.
Nice. Yeah, I do like how the talent show goes from that insanity to just like regular rangerettes.
Yep.
Like it goes back and forth. Yeah. The parade is kind of that way too, where it's just like odd thing and then like, band. And then a whole bunch of babies.
Sure. That woman
together.
The cute lady accosting all those babies.
Yeah.
And the end obviously is Louis Fyne's performance, and I think it's so funny because the whole movie has been building up him talking about how he's going to sing at the talent show and it's his own song, and how he's hoping that he can win the heart of some woman by singing at this talent show. And then he goes on a date with the cute lady and he's like offers to sing the song to her, and he just clearly has not put any thought into it and he hasn't written it yet, and he completely fucks it up, doesn't know the words or any of the concepts, and he's like, so what do you think of my song? And he's so proud of himself, and you're like, oh my God, this is going to be so horrible when he gives the actual performance,
Right.
and then he fucking nails it.
Yeah.
It's just perfect. And I kind of knew that's what was going to happen, but it was still fun to see that arc and the, you know, the misdirection there, even if you can see it coming.
I love the cute lady also being like, "That's just a sad song. I don't like sad songs."
Yeah.
And Louis like,
is that how
like,
you really feel? It's like, I guess I am sad. I like listening to sad songs on the radio. It's like, I can't have sadness in my life.
That's that line alone.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
amazing.
Well, all right. I think that about wraps it up. We can go around one more time for recommendations. John, would you recommend
Yeah,
True Stories?
I absolutely would recommend True Stories, even if it's one of those things where you're like, I don't know if this is really my bag. It is such a unique experience, and it's such a distilled Texan experience, and
Yes.
great kind of potent late 1980s cultural capstone for us. Like, I don't know, it's fantastic. So I would recommend it. And David Byrne's only directorial feature, come on, David
Yeah.
Byrne, please, something else. I would
Yeah.
love to.
Yeah. Dixon?
Yeah, would definitely recommend this movie. Yeah, if you like David Byrne, if you like David Lynch, Christopher Guest, Richard Linklater, Wes Anderson, Mike Judge, any of these things that we've talked about, I think it's worth watching. If you live in Texas, I think it's definitely worth watching. But yeah, like John said, it's very unique. I think it's a cool movie. One quick question for you guys. Do you guys have any thoughts on David Byrne's character and what he is supposed to be? And like, he shows up in music videos. Is he as his character, or is he a separate person in that? Like, how is this all? I don't know what he's supposed to be, and I think that's kind of part of it. You're not really supposed to know what he is. He's just kind of a stranger passing through. But I'm curious if you guys have any passing thoughts on that before we leave.
Is he in the music video the way Ludacris songs are in Fast and the Furious?
Oh, good point. But you don't see Ludacris singing those songs, where you do see David Byrne singing that song that's on the television that the woman is watching.
There's somebody else that sings Ludacris songs. It looks different. I don't know. I always wonder about that.
Is is he like a?
Yeah, it
a
seems like
good-
he's a visitor, right? Like he's someone who's coming into town for this event and then going around, and it's weird. It has that almost like a mockumentary feel, but that wasn't exactly a thing yet. Like there had been, but it hadn't become like a genre.
Right.
And I think today it probably would have been put that way, because there's a lot where we are the camera in some of these things, like a mockumentary. But yeah, it just seems like he's here to visit and think about the town, like he's doing a news piece. I don't know.
Is David Byrne like the good version of High Plains Drifter?
The one who doesn't rape and pillage and steal from everyone in the town.
I mean, he doesn't, and he seems to help everybody process certain things when they're talking. I guess he doesn't fix any real problems, but
No.
he's a neutral spirit navigating this
He's like
land.
he's like a Werner Herzog, like coming in on the
Just happier than
commenting
Werner
on the
Herzog.
town.
He's
Yeah.
much happier.
I like that he's wearing clothes that he thinks are local clothes too, and he's like absurd cowboy outfits, and he's like, "There's so many stores that sell these clothes, and nobody seems to wear them." But he keeps buying them and wearing them. It's like,
Yeah,
why are
keeps
you
wearing a
wearing
different version.
like a yellow cowboy outfit?
God, could you imagine if Werner Herzog was in this fucking? It was in David
They did
Byrne's
the same
position.
version, but it's Werner Herzog.
Yeah, the moment that Earl Culver tells him, what good is a field but to be built on? And he's like, the moment I heard that, my soul was buried 6 feet deep in the barren land of Texas. Just so, oh man. Yeah, that's. Does that answer your question, Dixon? He's good High Plains Drifter.
I guess. I don't know. Not really. I don't think it answers my question, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what he does. He dresses fun, not like any local, but he's visiting. Why not? He's your friend who leaves you at the stop and picks you up later. That's all he is.
How did he get dinner with the richest man in town at his home?
He's on TV.
Yeah, I don't know.
Nobody seems to acknowledge that he's a celebrity of any kind. They're all just really chill about it. But that's
No.
also because he's incognito. He dressed like a local.
Oh.
Even though the locals don't
They
dress
also,
like that.
yeah, either seem to know him or don't seem to care, right? It's weird. Like, you never really
Yeah.
establish any, like, yeah.
They all seem
how
to
he
know
has the
that
connection
he's
to him
there
or
and
not.
that he's not from the town.
You know what's really weird?
That's it.
Right.
Nobody bats an eye when they make a whole commercial about encasing people in chocolate and wrapping them and then eating them.
You know, though, if you saw that as a commercial, right?
Yeah.
Commercials are weird. Like, they showed
Yeah.
the
Yes.
one that was like, it pans up and the guy's a Goya can for a head or
Yeah,
whatever.
that's right. They did that,
Like,
yeah.
commercials are just fucking
They
like
used
that.
to be that awesome. They were so cool. Oh, man. You remember when David Lynch used to do PlayStation commercials? That shit's awesome.
Anyway, sorry for the tangent. Ryan, you're recommending this, right?
We said we would get off the path. We warned
We
everybody.
knew.
I totally would recommend this. I actually think, like, you don't even have to be in the mindset for this movie either, right? Sometimes I'm like, oh, it's weird. You got to get ready for it or sit down or whatever. I think you could just kind of come into this movie whenever, whatever kind of mood you're in, and just, you know, give up to it. I think it's hard to not just give up to it. You just have to. And, like, I think just the sort of, like, positiveness it seems to have, that everyone seems to have, you just kind of fall in and flow with it. And so, yeah, I really wish there was something else to see from David Byrne, because, yeah, this was great.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Someday,
All right, well,
maybe someday soon.
Yeah. Brings us to a close. That's 3 recommends, a good consensus. I have been your host tonight, Ryan King. Joining me as always,
John Garcia. Be sexy in business. Be successful at night.
and also
Michael Dixon. Thanks for putting up with our bullshit.
Hey there, movie buffs, TV toughs, and all listeners in between. John here from the Afterthoughts podcast. I just wanted to drop in at the end of this episode and say thanks for listening. If you've got afterthoughts of your own to share, hit us up. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at The Afterpod, or jump into a conversation on our Discord server. You can find info for this and more at theafterpod.transistor.fm. Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode.